The Taiping Rebellion was a cataclysmic event that led to the loss of an estimated 20 million lives, many of whom were civilians. Greetings everyone, I'm Chris. Today we're exploring the life of Hong Chi Kwan, a man who believed he was chosen by divine intervention to create a utopia. We'll see how his dream led to the formation of the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom, a religious state that aimed to overthrow the Qing Dynasty. If you find this video interesting, please support us by hitting the like button. Now let's get started. About 2 centuries ago, in a small village in southern China, Hong Chi Kwan was born into an educated but financially struggling family. At the age of 14, he began taking the traditional Chinese civil service exams, which were open to all as a means to gain status and wealth. After learning of his third failure, he reportedly fell ill for 40 days from the shock. Although Hong Chi Kwan had not achieved the life he had envisioned, his illness set him on a transformative path that would change the course of Chinese history. While bedridden, Hong Chi Kwan experienced a peculiar dream. In it, an elderly man with blonde hair, dressed in black, appeared and urged him to save the world. At first, Hong Chi Kwan did not pay any attention to this dream, but when he woke up, he resumed his attempts to take the exam. One day at an examination center, he received a pamphlet that invited people to Christianity. The pamphlet suggested that many people fail the exam despite their prayers, because they might be praying to the wrong deity. It claimed that the Christian God is the true God. The moment Hong Chi Kwan read this, he was profoundly moved, came to believe that the elderly man in his dream was the Christian God, and that he, Hong Chi Kwan, was divinely chosen for a special mission. At that moment, while reading a pamphlet in Chinese, Hong Chi Kwan mistakenly concluded that Christianity had originated in China. He believed that God, whom he saw as the originator of all religions, was what the Chinese people should inherently believe in. However, in a China deeply rooted in polytheistic traditions, Hong Chi Kwan's monotheistic faith encountered resistance and skepticism. Together with a few supporters, Hong Chi Kwan gradually gained followers by highlighting the tangible benefits of his new faith, like the promise of equal land and food distribution. Once he had gained a certain number of followers, Hong Chi Kwan launched a daring campaign to spread his religion more widely. This involved the destruction of idols. For centuries, idols representing various deities have been created in China as objects of worship. By destroying them, Hong Chi Kwan's religious group issued a challenge to existing religion. As a result of this subversive activity, Hong Chi Kwan and his group came into conflict with religious figures in various places, and their presence eventually shook the entire country. During this period, China was under the rule of the Qing Dynasty. However, there was a long-standing Chinese belief that a person commanded by heaven would be the new king, who would rule the country, and the believers who heard about Hong Chi Kwan's dream believed that Hong Chi Kwan, who had been given the mission by God, would be the leader of the new China. In response, Hong Chi Kwan criticized the king emperor of the time for worshipping the wrong god. He then began building an army within his religious organization. His aim was to overthrow the strife-ridden Qing Dynasty and establish a peaceful, equitable society. While increasing the number of believers, Hong Chi Kwan secretly gathered weapons and food, and prepared for a large-scale rebellion. In 1850, the followers, led by Hong Chi Kwan, announced the start of a rebellion. They began to call themselves the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom, which means heaven on earth, and they showed their intention to resist the Qing Dynasty by establishing themselves as a single country. This was the beginning of the Taiping Rebellion, a long-running conflict between the Taiping army and the Qing army. Although the Qing were by far the larger nation in terms of size, surprisingly, the battle initially swung in favor of the Taiping forces. In 1853, the Taiping army, having greatly increased its strength, captured the historic metropolis and officially proclaimed the establishment of the country, with this as its capital. By this time, the population of Taiping reached approximately 200,000. Taiping Heavenly Kingdom steadily expanded its size, established bases, and succeeded in solidifying its ground. However, it was still difficult to eliminate people's desire in the real world, and Taiping Heaven eventually collapsed from within. Besides Hong Chi Kwan, the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom was initially led by 5 other kings. 2 had already perished in the war against the Qing Dynasty. Among the remaining 3, one was particularly influential, whom we'll refer to as King A. King A had the special ability to make God possess him and convey God's words to the people, and he used this ability to run the Taiping Heaven while being quite a troublemaker, pushing his own opinions and executing those who opposed him. Eventually, the brunt of his actions was directed at the leader, Hong Chi Kwan. When Hong Chi Kwan was asked who was responsible for Taiping Heaven's success, he replied, "It was King A, who has a special ability." When asked, "Then why have you kept him in his current position?" Hong Chi Kwan stated, "Certainly, I, Hong Chi Kwan, should be the one at the top." At first, he complied with King A's words, but as his demands escalated, and he sensed that his position with King A was beginning to be reversed, Hong Chi Kwan began to consider eliminating King A. Hong Chi Kwan persuaded King B, another frequent target of King A, to eliminate King A, his subordinates, and their families. However, King C criticized King B for killing all the members of his family, saying that it was too much. King B then killed King K's family and subordinates. This infuriated King C even more, and he demanded that King B be punished by Hong Chi Kwan, who executed him. As trust eroded within his inner circle, Hong Chi Kwan resorted to appointing his own family members to key leadership roles. Meanwhile, King C, feeling marginalized, decided to leave the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom. In the midst of this internal strife, a staggering 40,000 people lost their lives in just 3 days. The leadership of the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom, once a collective effort, was now solely in the hands of Hong Chi Kwan. This internal strife within Taiping Heaven presented a great opportunity for the Qing Dynasty to strike back. At this juncture, the Qing forces went on the offensive at once and attacked the capital city of Taiping. In response, Hong Chi Kwan sent out his new young but experienced subordinates one after another to the battlefield and managed to escape the predicament. However, after a brief respite, Taiping Heaven faced a series of new threats. The new threat came from Western nations. Western countries aimed to win this war and offer diplomatic concessions to the king, thereby viewing the unpredictable Taiping Heavenly Kingdom as a nuisance. In the meantime, the conflict between the king and Western powers came to an end, and as expected, Western powers began to display military aggression toward the Taiping, fearing that the promises they had made to the king would be negatively affected by their own advantageous promises. The appearance of the Qing army, which had been greatly restructured, as well as troops led by Westerners, put Taiping Heaven in a desperate situation. Despite this, Hong Chi Kwan was only thinking of God and did not heed the advice of his cadres, and he gradually lost the trust of both his advisors and followers. With the country's inner circle torn apart and unable to win battles, Taiping Heaven gradually began to lose its strongholds. And in 1863, the capital finally became isolated. Surrounded by enemies, the city ran out of food, and Taiping Heaven was on the verge of death. By this point, most of Hong Chi Kwan's advisors had abandoned him. Despite this, he refused to leave the capital, claiming he alone was divinely chosen and had nothing to fear. While Hong Chi Kwan preached trust in God, his soldiers were forced to venture out for food, and civilians continued to starve. The place that was supposed to be a heaven was now a world of hell. In the end, Hong Chi Kwan, devoid of food, turned to eating weeds, which he claimed were divinely provided, and subsequently became gravely ill. However, he refused medical treatment and died, leaving no trace behind. After Hong Chi Kwan's death, the Qing army began its final battle. With no more outstanding cadres and a lack of food, Taiping Heaven had no chance of winning the battle, and the Qing army was victorious. After the fall of the capital, the Qing army massacred more than 200,000 people, including the remaining civilians in the city, bringing the 14-year-long Taiping Rebellion to a definitive close. while the massacre of 200,000 survivors post-battle may be shocking to modern sensibilities. It was an unfortunately common practice in China during that era. Both the Taiping Heavenly Army and the Qing Army engaged in such massacres throughout the long conflict. Against this backdrop, huge numbers of civilians became collateral damage, and it is said that a total of 20 million people lost their lives throughout China in the conflicts related to the Taiping Rebellion. Later on, the Qing Dynasty, weakened by the Taiping Rebellion and subsequent conflicts with Western powers, realized the need for modernization. They instituted reforms that incorporated Western technology, a vision ironically similar to what Hong Chi Kwan had once imagined. Unfortunately, this reform was not a complete success, and the Qing Dynasty was in a state of disarray, losing a war to a modernized Japan and ceding extensive territories to foreign powers. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insightful content. Take care and see you in the next video. Goodbye!